All right, we are live. What's going on, fellow traders? Let me get this tweeted out here. All right. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. Wow, what a day. So pretty amazing stuff. Last night, we had we were fortunate. We had Christian Fromhertz on. That was great. We got to learn about value areas. We got to see, talk about, lots of great chart requests using those value areas. Fantastic stuff. So really, really helpful. Hopefully you guys got a chance to check out his website and everything. If you didn't, just be sure to go back to that video. It's in the playlist special guests, and all the links to his websites and everything are there. So that was great. Yeah. So tonight, oh my goodness, what a day today. So basically we started a new quarter, new month, new week, new day. So clean slate today. Pretty interesting stuff. And price, we saw from last night from the futures was gapping up huge, right? The futures were up like 30 something points when we closed, and they were still up 30 points this morning when we were opening. So what we had is last month, right? We finished with this green, large green spinning top bar, right? It wasn't quite a bullish engulfing, but very, very strong bar, basically invalidating this this bearish engulfing candle, right? So what that does is give us, that basically gave us, bullish sentiment kind of coming into the new month, and that's what we got, right? So far, really interesting stuff, and this is kind of real key critical information here. So what we had last week was an inside week, right? And it was basically, a hammer, right? It was a red hammer, call it hanging man, whatever the case is, but it was an inside week, okay? So the real key levels here are the breakouts above the high of that week, or the breakdown, what I like to call a tail fail of these, to the downside. So what we saw today is a gap up, huge gap up here, gapping up into all-time highs, pushes to all-time highs. And what happened is that we not only tested the prior all-time highs, which was 2 weeks ago, the high of this candle, right? So that was a very, very key level, right? We actually closed pretty much like right at it, right? So clearly price is interested in kind of testing these levels. So we're very flat right now in the futures. So chances are we're going to, be testing kind of that range tomorrow, that kind of zone. Okay, but what happened today was really interesting, right? So we had we gapped way up and we faded down, right? But where did we start to push up? Right when we tested the prior week's high, right? So we closed that gap, right? And then from there, we got this huge run up, right? So that was really, really important stuff. So let's take a look at that level right there. So that level was 29.5492. Okay, so I'm just going to put a price bar there. So 29.5492. 29.54, pretty close here, 29.54.92. Okay. So there it is. Okay, so there's the level, and let's look where we hit that today. Okay, so let's go as we move forward here. So there's your daily bar, right? So we filled that weekly gap. There's still an open gap on the daily, right? There's actually two. There's a big one right here, and there's a couple closing gaps down here. I think there's a small gap right here. This is 28.50 to 10. 2052.87. Yes, there is a slight gap here on the daily too. So a couple gaps below that could be filled just on the daily ranges. And then if we go to the price action, and keep in mind these levels, I know it looks a little crazy, but these levels are the levels that we tweet out. Okay, so these levels are the ones that we tweet out. Let me just see where that went. Let's go to clear. I'll just pull this out. These are the levels that we tweet out intraday for subscribers, and they really, really help for when trading intraday, right? They give us all these great price levels. Even when we gap up in no man's land, right? They give us levels that we could use. We had the weekly R2 level, which is a phenomenal short this morning. These things went from the puts went from $3.30 all the way to $17 here. So but let's take a look at this. I believe that was the clear 2. Hold on 1 second. See if I can find this. Why am I not seeing this? Here we go. Sorry, for some reason. Okay, so there it is. All right, guys. So this is key stuff. So we push down all the way to the prior week high, right? Which is this level right here. I put this in. This is the price level here, right? So that was the prior week high. Okay. So we came down. Tested that level, tested a few times here, tried to bounce off of it, got below it here, and then once we had this nice confirmation bar through it, right, they tried to do here, but it couldn't get over it, right? So we had one confirmation bar here, and then it pushed, right? That was that move into the end of the day. So we tested the, the prior week's high, right? Kind of went into that range a little bit, did some price discovery in there, and then launched back out of it, right? So that was really one of the key moves of the day, and it happened right at the end. So pretty phenomenal stuff. In fact, I didn't catch these, but these calls, the 2960 calls, because today's expiration day, were 35 cents around here, and they ended up going all the way up to like $6. So imagine a 20x trade at the end of the day. Pretty phenomenal stuff. But this is the stuff that we look at, and we try to catch these in the private Twitter stream. So let me just load this up. Let me just load up tomorrow, so I have this ready for tomorrow. 1 second. Okay, so there we go, July 2nd. Okay, so those will be up for tomorrow. Those are levels for tomorrow. Okay, and so let's just take a look at where we're at, right? So the market itself is the market itself is making its way up, right? So we've had this level right here. So these blue lines here, this is the Andrews pitchfork, right? So the Andrews pitchfork is all the way from back yonder, I think back from 2016, 2015. And so it takes these two major levels, right? From before we dropped, right, back in September, October, all the way to the Christmas reversal, right? And then it pushes us up. And then what we have here is between these pitchfork levels, we have a midpoint line. Okay, so this midpoint line has been significant, right? It was a resistance point here, it was a resistance point here, and we're coming right at it again. So this is going to be a resistance point up here as well at the 29.95 level. If not, then chances are we test the top of this long channel that we've been using since the beginning of 2018. And so just really, really interesting stuff, right? We paused right here at the reaction line, try to get back out, held these, this resistance zone, which now became support. And so even though we faded back, we are still above, this prior resistance area, which is now serving as support. So we'll see if we get that push up. But like it says, we might stay, like you can see, we might stay, flat throughout the evening just so we can continue to test. The market might just want to decide what it wants to do at that 29.64 level. I just think it's pretty phenomenal that it closed there. So anyway, good stuff. So tonight, I kind of touched on a few things that are interesting, right? So we looked at planning a trade, right? And so the first part about planning a trade is having setups that you're comfortable with and setups that you like, right? And so, as you know, I enjoy trading off of the 60-minute time frame, and I like to look for inside 60s that are above or below the VWAP. And when the future, when futures are going up, I like to take a break of that, a breakout on that, and if they're going down, I like to do a breakdown of it, right? So as long as I'm above or below the VWAP, respectively, right? So that's one of the things I look at. But so this is just an example, real quick, with the SPX. This is one of those, planning type things. When you look ahead, we can't just go into the market completely blind, right? We can't just go and be like, okay, I'm gonna go long, if I'm here, right? We have to look at key price levels, right? And so the really interesting thing is here, right? The high of this bar was 29.54. The high of this bar was 29. The high of this week was 29.54 as well. And so obviously this is a key level. So when we're gapping up like this and we're kind of in no man's land, price doesn't have anything to test, right? It needs to test prior levels to make sure that it's not going to get stuck there, right? Even though the price never gets stuck. I mean, granted, we do have dojis and stuff like that, but it wants to test levels, right? It wants to discover, it wants to fill gaps because it wants to see if it belongs in there, right? And so when we look and we plan and we look at today at how we gapped up, right, we have to at least imagine that we were going to test other key levels at the 29.64. That was a very, very key level, and we had a big bounce off of that too. Almost a 1 or 2 point move on the calls at the time. So that's really, really key. But the other things that is we have to ask ourselves, what are we going to do? These are the if-then statements that we ask ourselves. And so when we hit the if we say to ourselves, okay, well, what are we going to do if we hit that level? Am I going to go long? Is it a key level? Does it make sense? Is it a floor pivot level? Am I going to go long there? So that is, a great question to ask, right? So these are plans if we get there. The other one is what we see here. Well, what did we have last week? What are we working with? We had an inside week. So if I get to that level, how am I going to handle that? Am I going to wait till I get in it? Am I going to try to trade a breakout on it? What kind of candles am I going to look for? Right? These are the if-thens that we need to go through, right? And even before starting the trading day, before starting the trading week, and we can do that just by looking on the week, right? At the beginning of the week, we look at the weekly charts, and this is why in the newsletter that I write, I go through all these, the quarter, what changed this quarter, what changed this month, what are we looking for this week, just to keep everybody prepped and on top of the market, right? Really, really important stuff. So it helps for planning, right? So let's take a look at Boeing real quick, and Boeing is really interesting. So today, this was a 15 orb trade today. So Boeing had some issues this weekend, right? It had more news that it was going to be grounded until 2020, and so obviously it's going to be hot. And so today, with the markets gapping way up, right? let's just go and just kind of look and see what it did. So if the market's gapping way up, Boeing, it came up, initially at the market, then it's like, no, right? So it, basically opened flat, it was essentially open super negative, right? So it should have been up, maybe like 370, 375, right? With China news and all that stuff, with Boeing being one of the most affected by it, if it weren't Boeing anymore, right? So, so that's really one of the key things. So it was that automatically made us want to look at the 15-minute bar, right? And so if we go back here to the weekly chart, just kind of moving into our game plan, right? So what are the things that we want to know, right? So one of the things we definitely want to know is what happened last week. Well, last week we had an inside week, right? And so that's key. So we need to use that level. So I'm going to put that in here. So the low here was 361.57. Okay, so I'll put that there. So 361.57. Okay, and then so that is, so I'm going to say the inside week down, and I would put it on the other one just for time's sake, so that's your inside week down level. Okay, so that's our weekly. Okay, what happened on the daily, right? Well, the daily was an inside day. I'm sorry, it wasn't an inside day, but it was a the low of that obviously was the inside week low. But look what it was. It was a doji, right? After a big red bar, following a major gap down, right? So we got to think here. What is one thing that could happen that we talked about this last week, right? Doji sandwich, right? So it's either going to be a reversal, right? It's going to fail to take the prior inside week down this week, right? And it's just going to go back up, so it'll be a doji reversal, or it's going to give you, a follow through, right? A little measured move, a doji sandwich. And so, so we look at that. Okay, so that's another thing. So if I can break that to the downside, I've got my inside week down, I've got my doji sandwich possibility, right? And what else we got? Let's go to the hourly time frame. And I didn't tweet this out last night, guys, and I apologize. This was normally I look at Boeing, but I didn't look at it, Sunday night. So, but let's take a look here. So the low, 364.05. Okay. So 364.05. So this is your 60 anchor low. Okay. 364.05, right? Low. Yep. Okay. So that's your 60 anchor low. Okay. So we know the 60 anchor is your inside, your inside 60 anchor is your inside 60-minute bar at the end of the day. Okay. So going into the day, if you're looking at Boeing, right, and you already know it's a 15 orb, so it's on the radar, right, because it had bad news and all that stuff, and Boeing has been hot, right? So what we do is we look at this bar. All right. So we look at the enter. So this is where we plan. Okay. This is how we plan. Okay. So we now know all the key levels of this bar, and we look at what happens if they trigger, right? And so here, let's see. So, right. So the idea is what happens if this breaks to the upside? Okay, you look at it that way, or let's look at the downside. So if this triggers to the downside, what is my next level? My next level is the inside week down. Okay. Well, if I can get enough power there, can I, push farther down? Okay. And then what's the next level after that? Is the 15 orb. Okay. So, you don't have to do this all at once. You don't have to stay in the trade the entire time, because obviously this went, a huge push to the downside and then came back up, right? For a scalp type situation, that's a great trade right there. But then I tweeted out in the public Twitter, I was like, okay, hey guys, look here, we have an inside 60 that's working, below the VWAP. This is, a key level. And a few people actually caught this, and, congratulations to everybody who got that. So, so we had the 60 anchor. So that was a great first trade right there, off of that. And then it gave you an inside bar. Now what I want to show you here is the 15 orb. All right, so let's go to the 15 orb. This is going to kind of illustrate everything. Okay, so the 15 orb is those first levels right here. Okay, so it's the levels of the first 15-minute bar, right? It's your line in the sand for the bears and your line in the sand for the bulls. It's where they're basically going to give up if it breaks down, right? So here off the 15, we had the 15 orb right here. It tried to break down here really quickly. I don't like taking the orbs off of the off of the first bar for the most part, right? Unless there's just something crazy going on, right? And what we had too is we had a bottoming tail here as well. So when we opened up, right, just kind of tested it real quick and came back up. But the key level there was your inside 60, right? So when in doubt on the lower time frames, always go to your larger time frames, right? Because it tells you so much more information of what's happening, right? Kind of weeds out the noise. Okay, so what do I have here? Okay, I have an inside bar. It's a red shooting star. It is very bearish. So if this breaks, then I can break to the downside. So that is the reason for taking the entry, right? And so here you can see on this bar, and I'll show the options here real quick if we look at these. Let's say here, if I break this 15 orb, what's my target? Well, let's see. If it breaks here, it's going to get to 359. Well, if it breaks 359, it's probably going to get to 358. So let's see if we have, do we have the 358s that we could trade today on the puts? Let's take a look. Okay, so the best we had was the 357.5s. Let's just say we could look at those, but for price sake, we could do the 355s. Okay, so I'm going to show you this chart on the hourly chart. Okay, so here we go. We had this inside bar here. That was the second bar of the day. So let's look at what the options did. And really, we have to be able to do this, and it's hard to see right here. I'll actually do this on the 30-minute time frame. So we'll do the sixth or the fourth bar, just so you don't see the aggregate starting here. Okay, so the idea was by 10:30ish, so the end of 10:30, so 11. So here's your first 60-minute bar. So this ended up being on the 60-minute time frame, your inside bar, right? So the key here is this is your entry right there above this bar. Okay, and your stop is just below this, right? Now you're out of the money, so you're going to give yourself a little bit more room. So the stop here, the low here was 134, so give yourself to like 124, right? So activate that. Let's go 124, right, as a stop, right? And so here is your entry. And really, if you guys have Thinkorswim, you need to have another window open for the options that you're going to trade. We just have to, okay? So it's critical. And then you stop. I must have made two of them, but we'll stop. Okay, and I'll delete the price level 2. Okay, so here's your entry, right? This is I broke it down into the so it represents the active market 60-minute bars. Right, so your entry is right here around 174. Your stop is at 124. Okay, so 50 cents. Okay, 50 cents of risk. One put is $50, right? 10 puts is $500. It depends how confident you are in the planning. That's why we did the planning, right? And so once we had this entry right here, that's what you do. You move, right? And then you can move your stops by bar, even on this 30-minute time frame. So here it broke, right? So it was 174, pushed up to 196. So a decent 20-cent move right there. It came back in a little bit, right? And then it started to move, right? Because it started to break that 60-minute bar down, and then it triggered the orb, right? And this is where the orb happened right here, okay? So it went from 174 and then shot up. And again, at this point, you can just kind of trail bar by bar. Your stop is right here. You move up here, right? Boom, 396. Right, from a buck 75, right? Over a 2x move, you move your stop here. Certainly, you can take profits anywhere over a 2x move, right? Or you just set your stops right here, and you're out at 350 from 175. So a really, really decent move right there. All based on just having a plan set up. When something triggers, you don't have to have this on everything. You just have, if you just do your 15-minute orbs, that get tweeted out each day, you just got to go back and look at the what's happening on all your your key time frames, right? So the weekly was a great setup. It gave you that inside week down, right? So you got to think, okay, well, if it takes that inside week down, what's going to trigger that? What was the the inside 60 down, right? And then the inside 60 down is going to trigger the 15 orb down, and then it gives you that big move right there. And guess what else happened too? It filled a gap, and there's your target right there. Okay, so that gap was your target fill. It pushed below it a little bit right here, tested the closing value, right, which is another true gap, right? Went right below it because it doesn't like to just go necessarily to the tick, tested that right there, and then launched. And then I think I somehow missed a double inside day on Boeing here, if I'm not mistaken. No, it wasn't a double inside. Really, really close though. But look at that, how it pushed off of it. Almost a double inside day right there, but almost exactly tradable. But look at that huge move off of that. But anyway, so filled this gap right here and kind of came back up. So that is putting a trade together using candles, using chart methodologies, and kind of using the different techniques we have like the 60 anchor and the 15 orbs to trade to succeed. So anyway, I hope you guys found that helpful. So at this point, if anybody has any questions or chart requests, please feel free to plug those into the chat window, and we'll get through as many as we can. Try to wrap up by 10:30 so we can get a good night's sleep for another awesome day of trading. So good stuff there. So what's going on, everybody? Paul, how's it going? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Harvey, my friend, congratulations on catching Boeing today. So you the man. Sarah, good evening. Good to see you. NetFry, hello. Nudie Poo, what's happening? Can we do Facebook and Riot? Yes, we can. So let's take a look at Facebook. Oh man, these things are all over the place today. So Facebook has just been crazy, right? I mean, it's just it had this, we talked about this last night too, and we had this downward trend line. This is the one I was stalking for a while, and had one big trend line break right here, confirmation bar, doji sandwich, right? Push to the upside, another doji gap, tests, right? Kind of gives you your trend line move, and then continues to follow trend, right? And then it breaks out of the cloud, right? Gaps way up, comes back in, right? And then finally breaks down out of the trend line here. So this was on the short radar for a while if it could get below this minor pivot, but it didn't. It gave you an inside day, took that inside day up, and then gapped up today, and then just basically closed the gap from before. So the real point is what's happening. It is it closed below your pitchfork level, and let's take a look. See where we're at. Yeah, so it closed below and then closed completely flat on the day. So total. Just a scratch on the day, right? Just nothing happened, right? So it is anybody's guess at this point. So my whole thing is that last time I tried to get over the pitchfork, came back in a little bit. Tried to get over the pitchfork today, came back in. It's pretty high, kind of overbought here on the stochastic. So it seems like if you kind of stretch this out a little bit, it seems like it could fill this gap here, and then maybe test this this trend line, and then work its way back up, maybe to the arc / pitchfork confluence, so at some point before earnings. So we'll see how that ends up turning out. And then Riot, what's Riot been up to? I haven't looked at this one in a while. Is it still like $2? It is. It tried to move. This looks like an option chart, doesn't it? It looks like options. It looks like a 5-minute option chart. So, but yeah, this is the daily chart on Riot. So, pretty amazing stuff actually. If you look at what we've done, is we had these fib fan lines here for a while, and all the way from this prior high to this low, and look how well it's respecting those levels, right? So it kind of came up, down, tested this level, gave you this, this head and shoulders. You can see I have the neckline right here, broke down to the fib fan line, tagged the fib fan line on this up, and now it's kind of in the middle of the range. So just got to be careful. Sometimes when it's in the middle of the range, it could pop back up, but I would look for, confirmation, like a breakdown of today's lows might eventually lead to this 190 level. If it gets over today's high, you've got a couple gaps to fill, and it could, retest that 364. So it really is, truly in the center of those ranges. So really, really good stuff there. Sarah, what's happening? Yeah, let's check out WFC. Okay, yeah, not WDC, WFC. So let's see. Oh, that's Wells Fargo, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so at this point, let's take a look at what it's doing. So this is, guys, we got earnings season is coming up in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And I'm going to remove these lines. They're probably old gaps. And so what I'm going to do is draw a trend line here. This level to the low. Next pivot up. So here we go. So it is basically worked its way up. This was your key minor pivot level right here. It broke out over that. So the trend is now changed to an uptrend. And now, we can kind of do a couple different things. We kind of, try this here. This is kind of like your bump, right? This is your run. Okay, so it has a little bit of a bump and run going on. So as long as it holds this upward trend line, right, it still could get, positive momentum. If it breaks below it, you might fill this gap and then start to test maybe that 46 level. If it gets below 46, maybe like through earnings or something like that, it could start to drift back down. So we'll see if that serves as support through earnings or if it serves as basically a trapdoor. So, so pretty interesting there on WFC. Callsaw, what's going on? Good to see you, man. Congrats on getting out there golfing. And Sarah, yes, let's take a look at SPY. Absolutely. Let's take a look at SPY. Take a look at the SPY. So yeah, obviously very similar to the SPX, right? So again, kind of doing a little bump and run type style right here. So as long as it stays above, right, this upward trend line, right, still bullish. Right, if it gets below it, be careful. It might start to test these levels below, and just like the SPX. Actually, this gap kind of got filled, but not the closing gap part of it. And I don't know if that gap got filled, but just keep an eye on it, see if it holds these levels, right, and then it can still be bullish, right? Obviously, today's gap was not filled, and so so just keep an eye on that lower gap for tomorrow. And then obviously, if it breaks down below here, if it fills a gap and continues to break down, we'll keep an eye on this and see if it tests those levels down there. SMDC 4CS, what is up? EOD ramp and SPX, who knew? Yes, exactly. Surprise, surprise. So when in doubt, ask the chief. So, Jason, what's going on? Good to see you. SBC, a big McClellan oscillator day, large range day. Well, good. We need it, and I need it to happen on key levels that I buy puts on or calls on. That works in my favor. So, so good to know that. Yeah, we need a big day tomorrow. Is fine. We'll max it out tomorrow. Wednesday's a half day, guys, before the 4th of July. So maybe just, grab a couple little scalps or something like that in the morning, and then enjoy the rest of the day, have a great holiday after that, and then finish up on Friday with some lottos, and then into the following week, which is the week before earnings season, which will be great. Jason, let's take a look at JP Morgan, Nike, Goldman Sachs, and CMG. So we got 3 Dow stocks and Chipotle. Okay, my pleasure. So JPM, similar to Wells Fargo in that it's recently going up, but didn't have as much of a downtrend. So, so we've looked like we've analyzed this a little bit here. We were working. This is a trade of the week recently where we traded a breakout somewhere here, wave 2, wave 3. So if this is still in place, okay, that would not be a wave 1, but we could kind of work around that. But assuming here it's wave 4, maybe working on wave 5. So 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 down by earnings, and then 5. But let's take a look here. That was your high. Okay, so that doesn't really help. Here, level. That doesn't help. These charts aren't really helping right now. Right now, it looks almost parabolic, right? So it's tough to trade this. To me, it seems like it might do a little consolidation, and then even it pulls back a little bit, then it might pop. Maybe give you like a quick little earnings run or something like that next week. So kind of hands offish, right? That one right now. Nike, who knows? It has some Wall Street Journal news today, something like they don't like the Betsy Ross flag or something like that. But anyway, so it's so we'll see if that boosts it or helps it or not. I don't know. Nike is so tough to trade. It is really tough to trade, right? So it is. You can see I've got all these crazy lines on here, but let's see. So that was its recent gap up. The orb levels were so big that day, and now it's kind of spiking again. So this almost looks like JP Morgan too, with this crazy kind of parabolic chart because of the gap up today. It makes it really, really challenging to trade. So I would look for. I mean, it is kind of at a key level. It has been following up this pitchfork median line for a while. At this point, see if we can get above it. See if we can get above this 86.50 and stay above it, and then and then keep moving. For whatever that case is. I mean, I've even got this channel here. If I activate this, just kind of keep carrying it across. I mean, this is sort of range bound. It's just Nike's really tough, and then Goldman Sachs is tough too. I mean, these are very, very challenging stocks to trade. Obviously, big move up here. With the rest of it. Or at least big chart with the rest of it. It is outside. It's finally outside of this downward channel. And guys, this downward channel has been good for I don't know, like a year, a couple years. Back in 2018, so about a year and a half. It was kind of falling down this channel, and now it's finally out of it. So my guess, though, with Goldman Sachs, the way it likes to trade, it might come back, retest it, and maybe this earnings will be a catalyst for it to start to push up again. Or it'll go back in the channel. And then CMG. Let's take a look. That's a bull flag, right? If we ever saw one. So we were trying to look at this as a potential bull flag right here. But let's just move it like this, right? Let's there we go. Kind of like there. Okay, let me remove this. So much stuff. Okay. All right, we want to deal with that. Okay, so this is great. As a CMG is actually looking pretty good. If it can get back here to this 720 level, in the next couple of days, as this stochastic is nice and low, right off of Fibonacci fan line, bull flag breakout, we could see it back to 750, 775 even, right? I mean, the length of the flag, honestly, right? So we could possibly even see a move the length of the flagpole, up. I mean, so I'll bring it up to 800. So, we'll see exactly how that moves, but it's starting to look really, really interesting here. Nice stuff. Nice charts, Jason. Osama, what's happening? How's the plotting of the SMA with RSI? That's the Thandicator. So that is basically your you look for your gold cross, death cross there. Really, really great for looking for reversals. Thanson recently joined our group as a trader, and so he's got his own Discord that comes with the membership and all that stuff. So offers some really great stuff. This is the general idea. So you overlap these, and you look for ideally breakouts or breakdowns by golden cross together. So I've got the RSI as green. I've got the MA as gold, and so here you can kind of see as this. I like to see it when it gets to overbought and oversold conditions, but here you can see how it kind of crossed over, kind of gave a little bit of death cross here, kind of showed you, a little idea that, hey, maybe this thing was going down. You can see a lot of red candles there, but it was tough. I only like to see it in overbought or oversold conditions. So pretty neat stuff there. Nikolai, what's going on? Good to see you. Heather, good evening. Facebook, please. No problem. I think we looked at that a little bit ago. We'll take another peek at it. Closed flat. Right, so it's it's been pretty flat on the or it's flat on the daily. Let's see, our weekly, tried to take the week up but failed, but filled the gap. Right, so basically it's been pretty strong. It was trying to break down out of this upward trend line here, but right now it's just kind of rejecting this this pitchfork level. So we'll see if basically here the it basically completely filled the gap today. So we'll see if it just is consolidating here. Maybe it'll pull back to the cloud, give us a bounce. Not a lot of clarity on this one yet. So really, really tough at this point. And then let's see how it looked here too. Yeah, again, to me it looked like it would potentially start to fill some gaps. I mean, it actually looks pretty weak up here. Like it's just kind of hanging on by a thread that it could, it could possibly maybe just chop around for a while until earnings. But it does look like it could test a little bit lower. Trina, what's going on? Yeah, let's take a look at Zoom. So Zoom was a 15 orb trade today too, or a trade idea today. I do like a couple things. This is an old 15 orb level that we looked at. No, that was actually today's. So in general, right, you can, just by looking at the chart, it's it's been in an uptrend. So let's go to the lows here, 59, got out to 107. Here's your pivot level. Okay, so it closed. It tried to push below it today after a downgrade. It closed, it pushed below this upward trend line, but it closed above it. So let's take a look and see how that looks on the 15-minute chart today. So very, very tricky when the 15 orbs. I think it was a good scalp trade. It went quick. We looked at this morning, and we were live at the open with members. We saw this one moved actually really quickly today. So it came off of this 15 orb and then pushed down very, very quickly, and then pushed down from, I think it was about a point, like 84.21 or so to 83. So a nice 1 point move. So I know it doesn't look like a stellar move, but a 1 point move off of Zoom is pretty big. Right, and then it came back up, and it got right to the orb level, and instead of bouncing back off of it to the downside, it gave you a nice bullish bar into it, and then it broke the VWAP, and it was over the VWAP, worked its way up, tried to push back over the 15 orb, came back into the VWAP, said nope, and then broke out again over the 15 orb, and then came back to it and back up. So you can see how those levels are really important, those orb levels there. So at this point, like I said, it closed over. You can see that upper trend line right here, this purple line that's kind of moving up. It closed above it. So as long as it stays above that, right, bullish until proven otherwise, right, there's still a gap above for it to fill. So plus I like Zoom. I use it for the live streams anyway. It's a good. They do a good job. Session, what's happening? IBM and Adobe. Gosh, IBM has been trying to get out of the cloud, right? We looked at this, a week or so ago, but it's just IBM, right? And so it just makes it really, really tough. So IBM trying to get out, held the cloud here, gapped up today, but gave you a nice shooting star at the upper Bollinger Band. And so, came off of that. To me, this is a nice topping tail. It took out almost took out this level over here and this level, which would have been great, but it still shows that this is if you guys saw my 3-minute video this weekend on supply and demand zone, it found its supply up here, right? So supply just kind of pushed it down. So it's going to be tough, I think, for it to break out of these levels. To me, it looks like it might want to test the cloud. And then Adobe. Let's see. So really interesting stuff. Also, if you check right here, you see how it got overbought here on the RSI, and then it death crossed on the 5MA. Well, look what happened. It went boom, 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 like that. And this is not, you know, it kind of starts to move there. Let's see how this is before this push down. So it started to cross through there. So a lot of indicators show it after the fact, but this is pretty nice. You know, it can be predictive sometimes. So, but today, wow. So Adobe was actually really good. So it had this nice bar here on the daily. So that's a, you know, nice, you know, northern doji, right, hammer, and then gapped up, and then close to the hammer too at the 2.27 Fibonacci. So so this is actually very bullish, right? So to me, it looks like it's pretty strong, and I might want to try those highs again. So keep an eye on that. SMDC Force, yes. BA, don't forget that they need to warn on ER. Yes, thank you. Yeah, Boeing needs to before earnings, they need to say they're going to miss. Otherwise, this could just get destroyed. Right? Everybody knows they're going to miss on earnings, but they need to say it ahead of time, like Apple did, and then they can start to build themselves up. Paul, my friend, Monster, you're the expert of this, but I will show you my what I see on it. I see a really bullish engulfing day. I think there was some news on this one today too. I think it had something Coca-Cola like was going to compete with it, and that's why it gapped down, right? And then I guess they figured it was not going to be that big a deal, and had a huge day today. Total pure doji on Friday, and then plowed right through it today with this bullish engulfing bar. I love it. And so so let's take a look at that. Let's actually see what it looked like on the 15 orb, and if that gave us any clues that, oh, that would have been really tricky to trade. But it did come back in. It held the VWAP and then broke above that. Let's see if it gave you any inside 60s or anything interesting there. Here's your daily. Oh, I switched that over to 30s not too long ago. So go to the hourly. So yeah. Oh, it was very, very tricky trading today on this one. Tricky candles. That was your bar right there. I mean, but it wasn't even inside. It was like this, like, you know, tail fail reversal. So really, really tough today, but big move at the open. That was key, and I think you caught that. So I like how it bounced off the cloud here on the 60 as well. But in general, let's just see how it's looking trend-wise. The recent trend looks good. Here's your low. There's your high. There's your pivot. So it broke down below there, but here's your high, here's your low, back above it, right? So this today defined a new trend and pushed above, and it pushed above the prior breakout bar, which is that doji bar. And so that's good. This is constructive. So to me, it looks like I could at least try to get up to this the top here, the 66 level, right, the top of this channel, based on that breakout. So good stuff. Jay, what's happening? Hello, hello. Osama, Lyft, and Netflix. Yeah, absolutely. How Lyft do today? Oh, not so good. Not so good. Oh, pardon me. So upward trend line closed below it. So guys, a break below today's low could have more downside movement. So just something to keep in mind on Lyft. Just straight up, that's trend line break. Give you a minor pivot. So tomorrow, if it breaks below today's lows, it could start to get ugly. And then Uber. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Netflix. Sorry. I usually analyze those both simultaneously. So Netflix is interesting. I tweeted this out. I said, you know, it might be up to something, right? So, I mean, it's got earnings coming up, you know, in a couple weeks. But what I did, this is the first time in a while I've seen it. Look at that. You have a higher low on the daily, a higher high on the daily, a higher low on the daily, and now a higher high. So, I mean, it might pull back a little bit, right? But if it could hold, I guess, this 360, right? This 360 level, I mean, it could keep working. I've got an open gap up here. This green line is an open gap. So, I mean, who knows? It might get to that before earnings, and then, you know, earnings might push it back down, or whatever the case is. But yeah, it is actually starting to look kind of bullish. So I don't know. Just be careful with it. I mean, you know, it's very, very tricky intraday. It gives a lot of these kind of crazy doji bars. It pushes all the way up, comes back in. Really, really challenging to trade. But if you can catch it, it's nice to trade. And Nikolai, yeah, take a look at Diz. Gosh, Fintuit's really bullish on this. I've seen a lot of bullish chatter on it, but for the most part, it is still bullish, right? Until proven otherwise. It tried to break down below this upward trend line, failed, and then it closed above it today, right? So again, the trend is up until proven otherwise. So next stop, you know, possibly this fib fan line, 145 and, you know, 30 cents is very, very possible. Albert, what's going on, my friend? C, let's take a look. looks very, very much like the other financials that we're looking at. So Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, right? So this is your low, high, pivot, bump. Very, very parabolic moves on these guys recently, right? So it's hard to maintain those type of moves. So watch if it breaks down, see if it holds this trend line. If not, it might collapse into earnings. Citi's really tough to trade. Nikolai Uber, good. Well, I almost mentioned that. So it closed over 45 for the first time on Friday, and then today it closed below it. It's like great. So everybody got bullish on these last. It's like, oh, it's over 45. It's going to be great. Knocked everybody out today. Unbelievable. This is still the opening orb level right here. So that's kind of your key level, this 42, 42 and some change level. So let's see. I mean, this is the prior downward trend line. This is the breakup bar of that downward trend line. It's getting really close to today. See if you can hold this 43.50, 43.60 level, and then kind of try to start to work its way back up. I mean, it's just Uber. What can you say? So, Jay, so is the Libra coin officially crypto now? I guess. I don't know what they've said on it. I saw some news today that the city of New York or the state of New York is suing them for crypto or something. Let me see what this says here. Buildings. Okay, apparently they got some tonight. The headquarters got some nerve agent meltdown. That stinks. Market close. Ban misinformation. Here we go. Wealth advisor briefing. I'm not so sure how official it is, but I know they're having some issues. So not quite there yet, right? So, but it is good. And it was one. If you guys saw Christian last night, Christian Fromhertz, our guest, like he was talking about Facebook. He said he really liked how they're innovating, they're doing new stuff, and so that's pretty cool. So we'll see what that translates into when earnings comes around. So yeah, not sure. Shirley, what's happening? Shirley Casey, what's going on? So SPY, we took a look at earlier. Definitely, obviously strong if it continues to break over today's highs. BX. Blackstone. Shirley, you've been bullish on this one for a while, so I assume, and I think we talked about it somewhere around here, so I assume you're crushing it on that one. ORCL. Yeah, Oracle, our recent gap up. This was really, really fun to trade on the 15 orbs recently. Let's see how we look. There's our fibs. It played really well with the 1.275 fibs. Nice consolidation here. I think it even gave us a double inside day here. Clearly it held those levels and then pushed its way up. So I think, yeah, as long as it keeps, as long as it stays strong, you've got, the fib fan up here like around 60. So just kind of be careful there. But yeah, obviously it could continue. JD. I don't know. A lot of people have been talking, kind of bullish stuff about JD, and it is looking big. But I think as long as their CEO is the CEO, this thing will never, take off the way people think it will. But here's your high, here's your low, here's your bump, right? Still above it. So, watch for pullbacks here. If it breaks down there, could continue to break down. GWR. Wow. Surely this is on gapping up on huge volume. I'm not familiar with them, but it sounds to me like this is an acquisition. Yeah, there's a deal and all that stuff. I would hands off of this one, surely, because when these things, this could just chop around at this 109 level forever. I think, this might have come up on a scanner, but if it's an acquisition, don't even touch it because it's gonna chop around forever, just like Red Hat, right? So. You look at Red Hat after the IBM acquisition. I mean, it's been drifting up a little bit, but just a lot of nasty chop. This took almost a year, almost 7 months to just kind of slowly drift up like that. So, it's just, and then I guess people still trade it, but yeah, when you have this type of acquisition, it just kind of chops around. I wouldn't even touch it. BRFS. Did I see it right? BRFS? Oh, okay. Burf. All right, so watch it. Sorry. Silly. Okay, so that goes here, there, and then push here. Bump and run. Just be careful there again. Another really, really sharp move up. So tough to chase that. Right, these ones you want to look for some sort of pullback, some sort of consolidation, something. It's really hard to chase those type of moves. AABA. So this is Yahoo, right? This is Baba, right? So it's going to look really similar to chart wise, right? Or am I looking at the right thing? Right? Analyze. Yeah, Yahoo. This is Baba. It was owned by Baba. So the chart is always looks identical to it. So remember Yahoo when it used to be like something? You know, I'm uptrending until proven otherwise. You know, so it's just you know, just be careful on this one. Stochastics looking a little overbought. Right, as soon as it breaks down below here, right, it could see an epic fall. Could go over the cliff, the CLF. So careful with that. There, again, these really, really big moves. Tough. Remember that triangle right there broke down below it. This is very common. Triangles broke down and come up. Right? I mean, just, you know, super bullish. I mean, I would at least wait till a pullback, you know, to there. Wendy, how's it going? Good morning. Singapore, what's up? So FedEx, yeah, so FedEx today was perfect 15 orb. Guys, this thing was gapping up with the market and got downgraded. So it made a perfect 15 orb today. So let me just show you how stellar this was. I pointed this out in the live stream this morning. So here's your 15 orb right here. I mean, just super breakdown. Big push right there. Fills your gap. Comes back inside 15 bar, and then once that breaks to the downside, it flushes. I mean, this is a huge move, intraday move on FedEx right there. So tomorrow we'll look at the 30 orb on this one. Right? I mean, just in general, it filled its gap. I mean, we'll see if it's got, you know, this is interesting. This is playing out pretty well to my Elliott wave. I had 1, 2, you know, 3 A, B, C, 4. Let's call it can I do this, Paul? Probably not, but anyway, maybe it was a subwave. See, anyway, 4, and then it's been working on this wave 5 here. Oh, that 4. This is a different wave 4. Hold on, I had 5. Oh, this is a bigger wave 4. So that was, I guess, my wave 5. So now A, B, C, 4. And then today didn't help, so possibly working its way down to more lows. FedEx is in some trouble, man. They've had issues with Huawei. They've had issues. They're trying to sue the government. Like, I mean, they're scrambling right now. It's really, really tough. So keep an eye on that to the short side. So we'll watch the 30-minute orb on that one tomorrow. Spotify. Wow. This is a 15 orb not too long ago, and you can see it kind of held those levels. You know, but today, you know, that I don't know if there's any news on it today, but you know, here's a nice break to the downside there. But in general, let's just see how this daily candle's looking. You know, gapped up, filled the gap. It kind of closes a hammer. I mean, still lots of lower, you know, higher lows and higher highs. So it could possibly be working its way back up. But I don't know. For me, Spotify is tough to trade. I wouldn't really trade this. You know, but in general, it's trending up. Well, it was trending up. Now it's starting to work its way down. Really tricky chart. I mean, I guess you could consider this a bull flag. Here. Possible bull flag. So if it is, then it continues. But to me, so far, unless it breaks out of that channel, right, the current short-term trend is down. And NVIDIA. Big push today, but came back in. So it's still part of this little bump and run that it's working on here. So let's see. Basically there. So, I mean, basically as long as it holds today's low, but if not, if it breaks down, we might get back to this 158 level very possibly, right? So it just looks like it needs some consolidation. Robin, good evening. QQQ. Oh, you threw in Square, huh? Very interesting. We looked at Diz, so Square and Roku, absolutely. Thank you for mentioning Roku, because I am getting bullish on it. I just need to see how that closed today. I had so many alerts go off today, it was crazy. Hi. there. Okay, QQQ, bullish until proven otherwise. Does have a gap right here, but might hold that trend line. And square. Okay, tried today, came back in, but still closed above, right, those prior days. Similar, bullish until proven otherwise. And then we looked at Disney, but let's look at Roku. This is big, because this is one that I'm looking for a reversal long on. And let's see if it did it. Look at that. Tough. So it did. It broke out. It broke through the trend line today, but right now it closed back below it. So I'm just going to put an alert here. You know, I will consider it is an inside day. So if we can break this inside day up, I'll look to swing this one long. Day up, DTL break out, swing long. Put my alert on there. Thank you. Because look at that. I really like the stochastic is oversold, right? We're starting to break out of this trend line. If we can get an inside day break, right, that might be nice. See how an inside day here broke down? Inside day now, maybe break up. So we'll see. And then take us back to all-time highs. So that would be great. So yeah, so that's what we're looking at. Heather, Facebook. Yep, we looked at that a couple times. You got it. Thanks. Pleasure. Regini, cost and target. Cool. A couple retail ones. Oof. Bearish engulfing day on Costco. The thing with Costco though is it doesn't like to move until after earnings, right? Or if it gives you like a really cool like double inside day, that often works. But this is really bearish. So I'm actually going to put, if that's your 161 retracement, it bounced off of that coincidentally, right? But if it breaks down tomorrow, that's a bearish engulfing candle. I'm going to add that to the to our short radar for tomorrow. Nice one. All right, so that goes to cost. And let's see how a target. Not quite a bearish engulfing day. Closed below this pitchfork level, but you know, big range. Really tight here too. I wonder if it's given like a TTM squeeze. I don't know if I've got that anywhere. Do I have any squeezes here? Here's a TTM squeeze on the date on the weekly. When the Bollinger Bands go inside the Keltner channel, that gives you a squeeze, right? And so let's just see what it does. Yeah, so it did start squeezing here. So interesting to look at. In fact, you know, these, you can see my pitchfork, and these pitchforks are legit, especially on these, you know, these type of names. I mean, they're legit anyway. But see how it's been trying to hold this pitchfork level and failing. Well, now we've got a squeeze, a TTM squeeze here on the daily. If that releases and then starts to break this momentum to the downside, this thing could really scream down. So, you know, this should be on the short radar too. You know, I mean, I know the daily candle is not as nasty as Costco, but this is a little bit easier to trade than Costco. So we're going to put that on the short radar too, and just see if a breakdown here causes a TTM squeeze breakdown. Or below. Squeeze down. So those are nice. Yeah, those are both looking bearish. Thanks for bringing those up. And what else we got? Call Saul AMD, please. No problem. Yeah, I'm not sure if we look at this, but yeah. So AMD, definitely want this darn thing. You know, it's just tough after today. Let's see what it did. So this big gap up today. Came back in. It filled the daily gap, but it didn't, you know, it didn't grab our level here. So makes it really tough. Now it did launch off of that level that we were looking at, the 30, where were we? This is the level I wanted, the 3048. I wanted it to retest that, and it gapped way above it, so the closing gap was down here. As long as it holds those levels, I mean, you know, this is like definitely the low here is the key, the 2978 for it to hold, but it's starting to get a little out there. Obviously it would have worked if we had it on Friday. So, but bullish until proven otherwise, right? So as long as it holds this upward trend line. So that's good news. And Albert, yeah, say like Merck. Merck actually surprisingly strong here. So here's our prior trend line. So as long as it holds this, right, bullish until proven otherwise. QSB, what's happening? MDB, yeah, let's take a look. MDB, a very popular one. Here was that trend line that we looked at the other day, gapped above it, came all the way back in and held. And Session, I think you were talking about this one too, held our 50-day moving average, so that's good. But now we need to get some confirmation out of this trend line. So this is one definitely to keep an eye on for a potential, like Roku, one to keep an eye on for a potential break. Gosh, the ranges on this one's incredible, isn't it? And TNDM. Tandem, right? This is tough to trade. This chart, this looks really tough to trade. Unless you're used to trade. I mean, in general, it's bullish here until proven otherwise. But wow, this looks like a really tough candles here to trade. So just be careful with this, unless you're used to trading it. But to me, oof, you know, maybe a like a call spread or something like that. Can we do a quick scenario for Tesla for tomorrow, up or down bias? Sure. So let's see what we got. So Tesla, we'll just base it on trend lines here, right? So Tesla, all right, couldn't get over this high. So this is the current trend line. It is trying to break down, but it gapped up today. So what this means is basically it's just kind of in its own little world right here. If anything, maybe, you know, a little kind of short 2-bar trend line right here. But key levels are this level here. So the 215.50. If it breaks down below that, I think, you know, so you have some downward movement. I suspect we might just see some chop, right? Might try to fill this gap, hold this level. One thing I do like is the it does have an inside 60. This is our 60 anchor bar. So we'll look to trade this. The range isn't really big for Tesla, so that's pretty important. So which means if you do trade this one way or the other, I would have this stop over the, you know, basically around the mother bar, maybe the opening level and then the high. You know, something like give you a little bit more range to keep your stops. But if we open flat in the morning, this could, you know, pop to the upside. If not, it might come down and test this test the cloud. So a couple of things there. I mean, I know it's not really major. I mean, Tesla's been kind of just funky for a while. We have a gap below, so if we open in the range, I would look to try to short that, you know, at least to fill that gap, and then just see where it does. On the daily, it just seems like it's chopping around. I think there was some news, like wasn't Elon supposed? Here we go. He was supposed to deliver delivery numbers today of his cars, but he delayed it. So thoughts is that he's probably going to come out with good numbers. He's just trying to figure out how to make those numbers happen. So we'll have to see how that goes. I heard Options Mike talk about that today on the TD Ameritrade Network. So that's kind of what we're looking at. To me, it's waiting on that news. So it's really, really hard to say. So I would just kind of look at the 60 anchor, see what it does in the morning, and then just wait till the news comes out. You know, I mean, I don't know how much it's going to move off of that news either. It's hard to tell. But we could look at, I mean, to really tell, we could look at the market maker move. Says it could move, you know, plus or minus 10 points this week. So, and even here 14 points. So it could move one way or the other. We're just figuring out which way is tough. But using these anchor levels are helpful to try to figure that out. So yeah, no real bias at this point, but I guess a little bit to the short side bias because of that gap. Regina, yeah, so PKG and PPC. So PKG. Yeah, pretty good day today. Gapped up, stayed green, nice hammer over the cloud. I like it. I would even consider swinging this with a stop at today's low. Just, you know, it looks that nice. I don't know, is this thing even trade options? Sort of. Not really. I wouldn't really touch this with options. It's got no volume on it. But you know, if you're a common trader, you know, you're a common shares trader, you know, that stop like kind of maybe just below 96, right? This thing could work possibly. I just like that it came out. I love cloud breaks, right? So, but look at what it's done with the clouds before. This thing looks really tricky. So just be careful. Right here, it had a nice hammer out of the cloud, and then it's kind of bleh. Right here, hammer out of the cloud and doji, and then this nasty thing. So I don't know. This looks tough. I wouldn't. It is bullish. It does look bullish, but I would just be careful with it just because of the way it trades. And then PPC. Very bullish. So almost like a 3 white shoulders, but this is just a, you know, kind of a gap and go today. So Pilgrims, it must have, what did they resolve? Some of their price fixing news or something like that. Signals negative social implication. I don't know. Apparently, it didn't care. There's some good news out of it. So PPC might get, the chicken might be good, and as long as it gets over its 50-day moving average here, it could work on a breakout of the cloud. So it looks pretty good. Session, AbbVie. How'd that do today? Up 68 cents? Not too bad. Kind of the 3-weight soldiers here. Pause day. Possible doji sandwich to the upside. So just keep an eye on that today. So look at your, long, over 73.50 with a short at the low of the day, 72.28. So very possible there. Jay? Oh, it's all good, man. I'm glad you're here now. So Diego, what's happening? Cron pennant. Cron. Yeah, and one of the things I really like about Cron is, well, it depends. I mean, I guess it could be a bearish, flag here, but it had an inside day here, and today it tried to break that inside day to the downside, and it closed back in it. Guys, AGN did this before it went, gapped up huge. So just keep an eye on that. To me, very, very bullish candle. It's just got to get above this fib fan line. If it get above there, then it might work on its way on a cloud break. Awesome. Sarah, my pleasure. Albert, thank you. Paul, thank you, my friend. Diego, Tilray broke out, though I don't. So I think Cron will too. Yeah. So Tilray has been market leader today, for this industry. So that really pushed, and Cron is, starting to look pretty bullish the way it handled that inside day. You can see here, Tilray did the same thing. It had an inside day, tried it to the downside, pushed up, and then, obviously this is a very, very bullish candle. So we'll see if that can get some follow through tomorrow and carry the rest of that sector to the upside. So good stuff. Awesome. Well, thank you for everybody for tuning in. I hope you guys found that helpful. Remember, plan your trades. Right? Don't let them plan you. And remember your risk first and stay safe so you can stay in the game. So appreciate you guys. If you're new here, definitely subscribe on YouTube. We do this stuff every market night. Check us out on Twitter. All the links are in the bottom. We put charts up, trade ideas like Boeing today. And then, of course, we have the private Twitter feed where if I take any trades, you can see them. And we've got a lot of other stuff, too. We've got another trader in there who posts great ideas. And, really, really good stuff. And you get the newsletter. So talk to you guys soon. And have a great night. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Talk to you soon.